We're not trying to scare you from not getting a heat pump. So the whole purpose of this podcast is to say, okay, why would you want to do a heat pump? So that right there for defrosting and stuff like that can be a problem that comes up for sure.
It doesn't happen very often, but it can. You just need to be aware of it, because we get the other calls where they see those frost lines you're talking about and they think the unit's not working. And that's just part of its defrost cycle. That's why we wanted to bring up the ice, because some people don't realize that it is going to freeze up in winter a little bit with those frost lines. But if it starts to build up, that's when you need to bring a call and say, hey, we need to take a look at this. But that's the nature of the beast. That is what it is. But we want to make sure that you're aware of it, so you're educated about it.
Never fear, Allpro is here.
Hey, welcome back to the Allpro Podcast, where today you got a whoop whoop. We got a whoop whoop. As to why heat pumps. Why heat pumps? What's the benefit of heat pumps?
Benefit of the heat pumps. Okay, well, what we're going to have to talk about with heat pumps is that the major thing about the benefits of a heat pump are your energy savings. Mm-hmm. So the energy savings are why you really use heat pumps for the most part.
Money bag.
Again, she brings the money bag back
Saving
out.
That dollarinis.
So yes, it's the energy savings is the major thing with the heat pump, is why we put heat pumps in for the most part. Mm-hmm. And also energy savings relates to, better for the environment, you know. So we're not using as much energy. Well, then we're not putting as much toxic things out into the atmosphere. So, yeah.
So, and here's the thing. It's the same thing with all of our other technology. The more energy efficient something is, the more it's going to cost you up front. Heat pumps cost more than air conditioners.
Yeah, that can be a con with it.
Yep. Oh, I got a pro cons list coming.
Okay, well then yes, that would be they can cost a little more for sure to install, but they will also save you. They actually save you a lot more on your energy bill than they would cost up front. Mm-hmm. So that's not really a con. It can be a pro too.
Yeah, let's just do the pro con list now. This feels like a good place for it. All right. Pros.
Energy savings.
Energy savings.
Right.
Yep. It's an easy upgrade to do it. If you have an air conditioner, it's an easy, it can be complicated, but for the most part, it's normally a relatively easy upgrade to a heat pump system.
Yeah. So if we're talking about air-to-air heat pumps, yes, of course it is.
Yes.
If you're wanting a geo ground source heat pump, that's a whole different. That's digging up your yard. That cost can be pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Now they're more efficient than an air source heat pump, but here in Indiana, we tend to see more of the air heat pumps.
Yeah,
we see them everywhere, especially in new builds. But that's usually the way to go. The geothermal heat pumps are nice for sure, but generally they're really invasive. They're expensive to put in. So usually we don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah, especially here we have a lot of clay, like heavy dirt. It's not light. It's very hard to dig them out. And I mean, you're talking about digging up a grid system and down 20 feet in the ground. And
and then you got to think too, is like, if you ever have a problem with that loop system in the ground, now you're have to dig it back up again, fix it. Generally those are good for quite a few years. They're usually good. I think 40 or 50 years if I'm right.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They're good for a long time.
They're good for a very long time, but there's no guarantee with anything, right? So,
that's the guarantee of life. You're not guaranteed.
Ground moves, right? Like you got movement in the ground plates and all that, and it can cause some issues with that stuff. So, but anyway, heat pumps, yes, they save money.
So how does a heat pump save you money?
Well, it uses the outside air, like the heat from the outside, in the wintertime. So what it does, so an air source heat pump, it basically reverses the outside to inside to outside. So during the wintertime, what it does is it takes the heat from outside, which you're like, what do you mean heat? You know what I mean? It does pull heat from the air outside, and it draws that heat, and then it uses the coils, and it brings it into the inside of your house. So
yeah. Well, I was just thinking, we never explained why a heat pump actually saves you money. We just keep saying, save your money.
So if you think about it this way, so in the summertime, it's drawing heat out of your house. So you have a coil inside, right? And what it does is it pulls the heat from inside your house and draws it to the outside. Well, in the heat pump, it just reverses that. It pulls the outside heat and brings it into your house to heat your house. So one of the cons with that, and we're going to put that on the con list, is that when it gets real cold outside, less heat can be pulled out of the outside air to heat your home. So that can be a negative, to where what happens is you got to have a backup heat source is what you have to have, because now you can only pull so much heat out of the air when it's 0 degrees. In fact, when it's 0 degrees, it's probably not doing a whole lot. You might as well just be using your emergency heat at that point. But for the most part, it saves money throughout most of the year. Now, if you live even further north than we do here in Indiana, like you're in Canada or something, you might not want to do a heat pump. You might not see that energy savings as much, because you're going to get below 30 degrees quite often. Anything below about 30 degrees, you start losing your BTUs out of the heat pump. So your heating BTUs diminish. 30 degrees, and it just keeps coming down and coming down and coming
You might
down.
have a hybrid system or a dual system where your inside might be an oil heater or a gas system, or I've seen wood burner combinations as that backup source. So it can be used, but in the winter, it's the problem with it. It's not really that efficient. There are manufacturers now that are making more efficient heat pumps. So they're heating down to now 10 or 0. But if it gets below that,
one of the best ones is the mini splits. The ones that we see,
splits,
like
they'll go negative 20.
Usually you'll see a head on the wall. It's looks like a hotel PTAC unit.
Yeah, like a big rectangle.
Yeah, but so there's mini splits, and what they're doing right now is they actually are creating these mini split type systems that go in your whole house. So they're really efficient, and they can really heat at low temperatures where you don't even need the backup heat. So that's something to look forward to in the future for sure with that stuff, because it's getting more and more
100%.
They're getting better at it.
They're improving it every day.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, there's one more pro I want to talk about, and then we're going to go into icing up, because they're cool. So see you when we get back. You want a discount?
Help us out, guys. If you guys want this discount, try to send everybody to our podcast, because then everybody gets the discount, right?
Yep. Like and share.
Help your friends and family out. Like and share. You get a 10% discount, right?
By mentioning the podcast. Share with your friends. Let them save the savings.
Yeah. Help them out.
Help them out. Help their money bag out. All right. So the very, very last pro that I want to talk about, the good thing about heat pumps, they go up to a high Seer rating, which if you listen to one of the episodes, that's basically the energy efficiency of them. There's 22, 23, shoot, here in a couple years, they'll probably be 24, 25. And mini splits, like you were talking about energy efficiency, you're talking some of those are 33%, or not 33%, but 33 Seer rating. Like they are extremely high. But with that higher Seer rating, we see a lot of incentives, commercial or residential, on cost savings with the utility companies. Because they are energy efficient, they tend to give you more incentives, which helps offset that initial upfront cost, because heat pump costs about twice as much as the air conditioner, because it's kind of doing two different things. So that is a big pro. There are incentives for it. If you get the right heat pump system, you have to get the right one. You can't just get the base one. It's normally one of the higher ones. And with the new Seer 2, they're even more efficient now. So that's a big pro. My favorite, not my favorite, it's really hard for this one, icing up. They get icy, they get cold, because they're pulling out that humidity. When is too much ice too much? And why is there ice on the outside?
Yeah, they're supposed to do that in the wintertime. Now in the summertime, no, you don't want to see any ice buildup on the air conditioner.
You'll see frost
or the heat pump. Not during the summertime, just during the wintertime. So summertime, you should not be seeing anything freezing up out there. So what happens is the heat pump. So when we're talking about it reversing from winter to summer, so what happens is in the summertime, your indoor coil is drawing humidity out of the air. That's why you have a condensate line. So that water from the condensation off that coil is now got to be drained somewhere. So it drains out into a drain that's next to the furnace. So what happens in the wintertime is it's still pulling out humidity out of the air, out of the outside air. So what will happen is during the wintertime, water freezes at 32 degrees, right? So if it freezes at 32 degrees, what happens is it's pulling that moisture out of the air onto your coil. Well, at that point of 32 degrees and below there, it starts to freeze up on the outside coil. So what you'll get like little frost lines on your heat pump. Well, that is normal. So that's supposed to be there. So what it does, it goes into defrost mode. So there's a defrost mode on these things. So there's a little bit more to these than just an air conditioner. So these go into defrost mode to thaw that out. Because if it doesn't go into defrost mode, now it starts freezing up. Now, if you see a big block of ice out there, that's a problem. You shouldn't see, but you should only see little frost lines, not a big old block of ice. You start seeing that, you need to call somebody because your energy bill's shooting way up. It's probably your defrost system isn't working right. So,
yeah, it could be. There are a lot of reasons that a coil would start freezing like that. But so what you want to do in that case is you want to go to your thermostat. This is one advantage that heat pumps have. They have an emergency backup heat mode, which basically will turn off the heat pump on the outside and only let the inside portion run, which is where the emergency heat is. So you want to flip that over to emergency heat, because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want us to come out there and it's so frozen, we can't really diagnose a popsicle. And I mean, we're talking like they will literally go to our website. They're literally, or Facebook page or whatever, like they literally turn into a ginormous ice cube, like solid frozen to the core. And in winter, sometimes we got to let it thaw for 2 or 3 or 4 days so we can get in there, figure out the pressure issue, what is actually malfunctioning, because that cold does affect the pressures and everything that we have to check. So that's the first thing. If you notice that, turn it off. Let it start thawing, call in for a service call. Because if you're seeing that much ice, that's not a DIY thing. Maybe check your filter. That's probably about the only thing you do. Other than that, that's not a DIY thing. You need a professional out there to see what's going on.
No, we're not trying to do this. We're not trying to scare you from not getting a heat pump. So
no.
So the whole purpose of this podcast is to say, okay, why would you want to do a heat pump? So that right there for defrosting and stuff like that can be a problem that comes up for sure.
It doesn't happen very often, but it can. You just need to be aware of it, because we get the other calls where they see those frost lines you're talking about and they think the unit's not working. And that's just part of its defrost cycle. That's why we wanted to bring up the ice, because some people don't realize that it is going to freeze up in winter a little bit with those frost lines. But if it starts to build up, that's when you need to bring a call and say, hey, we need to take a look at this. But that's the nature of the beast. That is what it is. But we want to make sure that you're aware of it, so you're educated about it, so that when you see it, you don't freak out about it. You understand what's going on and how to get you faster service to get you back up and running quicker.
But
that's it.
We're doing why do we do heat pump though, right?
We're doing why do we do heat pump?
Okay.
Yeah. Why do you do heat pump? It's energy efficient.
It is.
It's green.
Yeah. Green.
It's green.
Yeah.
Green.
But I mean, we did go into a little bit of how they operate, but we do have other podcasts for that.
Yep.
But we do. Why do we want to do a heat pump? Is mainly just for energy efficiency. So don't be afraid of them.
Nope.
You'll hear people hate on them all the time. You know what I mean? They're like, oh my God, those heat pumps, I don't like them. Now it is a different heat.
Yep.
So
it's not as hot.
You got to be aware of that. So if you're used to gas heat, it's going to throw you off a little bit. But don't be afraid of the heat pumps. They'll help save you money.
Yep.
And so there's good things with them too.
Yep. So, the only thing that I would
better for the environment.
They are better for the environment. One thing that I would suggest, and we do a lot with heat pump systems, is a humidifier, because electric heat is very dry, because it's basically taking all that humidity out of the air. So if you have a heat pump system, you're going to find that your air is drier also. It's going to be drier. It's not going to be as hot as the gas systems. But we do recommend humidifiers for that very reason. In the winter, you can put that humidity back in the air. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with it. You just need to be aware of it.
We almost always put humidifiers on a heat pump system because of that.
And that humidity makes it feel warmer too.
And that's usually when there's a electric air handler hooked to it, not necessarily a gas furnace all the time, but usually when we're doing an analysis on your home and doing all that, we want to see what kind of humidity, if you have humidity issues, do we need to add humidity to the home? So that's something that we can look at, or, a professional can look at whenever they go to look at your house and say, okay, do we need to make sure we're adding a humidifier to this system when we add a heat pump system to your house? It's always best to probably, here in Indiana, we're always adding humidifiers a lot to the system. So for sure.
So I feel like this is case closed on heat pumps. You should have a heat pump, even if it's dual. You should do it. There are a lot more incentives than there are drawbacks to having a heat pump on your home.
When you have options.
You have options.
So if you did do a dual fuel, you have now, you're like, look, I can either use my electric heat part from the heat pump side, or I can use my gas heat from my furnace
side.
So the dual fuel is actually a pretty cool option. So you can have either one of those options. So say they start the price of gas starts going, natural gas starts going up. When you're like, well, I'm just going to use my heat pump.
Use your heat pump more than your gas one.
Than my gas. And then if you're like, you know what, my electric bill keeps getting higher. Well, my gas isn't that high, so I'll just start heating my house with the gas furnace. So no, they're not horrible. I know there's misnomers out there that they're, a lot of people say, don't do the heat pump, don't do it. But there's good things with it too.
Yep. There's a lot of good ones, which is why they're doing a lot with the electrification project. And that's why you're seeing heat pumps getting more energy efficient. They're really pushing that out. And the incentives are there because they want everybody using more electric heat than gas. But that's a whole conversation for another time. But take advantage while the incentives are here, because eventually the incentives will go away.
Yeah. I mean, the government right now is trying to give you all kinds of stuff for, electric, anything electric. So this is basically, all electric heating system. They're going to give you some pretty good incentives on it. Yes. Yep. So,
all right. That's a wrap. Get a heat pump. Till next time. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Allpro Podcast. Allpro Heating and Air is your complete comfort solution. For more information on how we can help you save money with your heating and air systems, visit callallproindy.com.